I hope you would have seen the presentations and would have done some basic examples. So I think let's start. Yesterday we were talking about how to create a database connection in EGL and how to call a database inside of our EGL applications. And we seen the data connection wizard. We created a database connection with a Derby database, and we also explored the database perspective. And this is the database perspective that we talked about yesterday. Now today we will go in more detail how to call a database in our application. Yesterday we left here that there are a couple of like reserve words that help us to fast our development when we are going to develop in a database application in EGL. Let me just skip these slides that we seen yesterday. Just going to, I think, okay, we were here, I think here. We seen that there are a couple of reserve words like add reserve word, delete reserve word, get or open reserve word, and replace reserve word. And if you use this reserve word with your SQL record, then it will implicitly create a corresponding SQL statement in the background. Later we will see create these statements, how we can use these different reserve words. Now, inside EGL, there is a concept of like host variables. For example, we want to supply some parameters dynamically at the runtime to our SQL. Or in other words, we want to create SQL statement on the fly based on the need or based on the different values. So using host variables, we can modify the by default generated SQL statement, and we can input our host variables. So here is the syntax given here. You will write your whole SQL query here, and then when you want to supply any parameter, then you will use this equal sign, colon mark in the host variable name. So if you see here, we have an example given here at the bottom. We have a select statement, and that is selecting a couple of columns from two tables or three. In the where class, we have one where condition. We are checking for EGL orders.orders ID equal, and then we are supplying a host variable after equal sign, and then colon search record dot order ID. So the search record dot order ID is our external variable. That is our host variable, or that is our primitive data type, or our SQL record, or any other variable that is holding a dynamic value that we want to supply into our SQL statement. So in this way, we can supply dynamic values inside our SQL statement, and then SQL statement will be modified, or they will return the corresponding results. Same way, there are some more details or more concepts in EGL. Like for example, you want to open cursor, you want to create prepared statement, and you want to do some transactions or bulk of statement that you want to execute. Then there are, I think there is another dedicated course on this. Or maybe if you want to go in more detail, you can find all details on the IBM Info Center. Here, just for high level we are here trying to open in this code example given here, we are trying to open a cursor and then we are executing our prepared statement, a dynamic statement, and then we are looping through all the returned records one by one, are modifying some records, and then at the end we are committing the SQL transaction. I'm not going in these advanced topics in much detail because we have only 2 slides on these 2 topics. And for more information, you can either go on the IBM Info Center or maybe on RBD help menu and then contents option, or from the EGL forum you can download SQL tutorial. So that contains that will explain you a great detail on how to create your advanced queries, or how to create cursors, how to create prepared statement, or how to call stored procedures within your EGL language. As we have seen that we can create SQL record, or we can create basic record or exception record. There are various type of records that we can create, and then we will use them in our application based on our need. Same way, there is a wizard provided in RBD tool through which we can create record from XML file, or from a JSON file, or from a text file. For example, I have a JSON and I want to create a record that is representing that JSON object or JSON data. So I will either input that JSON file or text inside this wizard, and it will create a record that will represent, or that will hold your JSON data. You can find this wizard in file menu, new, and then search like EGL record wizard, and it will show you this wizard. Now we will move towards creating a database access application. I think before going here, I would like to show you a simple example on how to consume a web service. Because yesterday we only talked about the web services, but we did not seen any demo or any example on how to create or consume a web service. So before we move in database, creating a database example, I would like to show you how to consume a web service. If you have any questions, please go ahead regarding like database or these topics. I hope you can see my screen. And by the way, one more thing I want to quickly show you, just to give you an idea of how to use different, how to create a library and how to create a general functions or variables that you can use throughout your application. For example, let me create here. If you see here, I can create a folder here. For example, I'm going to create a package, my lips. Okay, inside this package, I want to create some libraries. My custom lips. I want to make it a basic library. Okay, by default, if you see, it has generated these couple of lines. It has generated this constant variable. It has generated this non-constant variable and a simple function. I can remove these things. I don't need all of this. Now I can create, for example, any variable here. For example, imp id is int. Okay, and I can say, okay, function 8 values. Okay, and I say val1 is int, comma val2 int, and now I'm trying to create a function. In the function, I will supply two parameters, that is value 1 and value 2, and then I will return back the result. So what I will do, I will write a return statement, okay, and within the bracket, I would like to add these values, value 1 plus value 2, and semicolon. Now, as we have declared this return statement, but we have not mentioned that this function is going to return some value. So I will specify return is int. Now, what it does, this is a function name inside of my custom lib, and it's taking two parameters, and it's saying it will return an integer value. And inside of the function, I have written this logic. Or either you can create, for example, result int, or you can do this thing. It's up to you. And then you can return this result. It's up to you. Whatever is easier for you. Okay. So in this way, we are adding two values and then returning the result. Now, as we are providing two values inside of the function, so I have to specify in reservoir that will tell the time that these two parameters will be supplied inside of this function. So in this way, you can create your custom different functions, your variables, and you can use throughout your application. I can save this one. I can close this. Same way, I have created like a file. I have given it a dictionary name, and inside this dictionary, I have created few data items like data age item. Its type is small, and I have supplied few properties. Same way, I have created some other data items here. So these data items will be available throughout my application. I don't have need to recreate or rewrite all these again and again in different files. Same way, I created a library, and here if you see, I have created a record, and this record is basically using these data items. My age, its type is age item, and my date of birth is date of birth item, height, selection, and those are declared here, like date of birth, height, age item. So in this way, you can use these things throughout your application. Now I will show you this thing here in simple example here. For example, we are creating data item. In the code, okay, as I have created this record, so what I will do, I will take this type. This is my my custom record. So I will create a variable or my variable. Its type is record, okay, and it's not finding its type because we have not imported its definition here in this file. So I have to write my import statement. So one way is to do Control Shift and O. Control Shift O from your keyboard, and it will import this line, the definition of this record. It says the definition of this record is given inside this data package. This is our data package, and inside the data package, it has my record definition. Okay, now I click on the design. Now just see how it's I select the EGL data view, and then I'm just selected this one and dropped here. If you see, a dialog box will appear here. Again, I selected editable and then press finish. Now if you see, it has created by default just one. If I click on the preview, how beautifully and quickly it created everything based on my definition of these data items. And so this is a single record that is holding different data items. Is in the age, I have placed a mark that this is a mandatory field, so I cannot skip this. So by default, this check has been highlighted because I have to enter some value here. Again, there is a check that age should be which limit. Let me see here. Okay, here is the age item. The valid values are 18 to 99. So it can accept 18 to 99 is in the age field. Okay, it's gone. Same way. So in this way, you can reuse your properties, you can reuse your data items, and you can create your custom record, and you can use throughout your application. Okay, now going back here, and if you want to use this library, what you will do, you can go here. For example, you will just call this function. Let me show you this, how to do this. As we dropped a record on the page, so it created a GUI against the data record. And to create a GUI, these different widgets and their alignment within the grid, it did these things. It generated by default this whole bunch of lines. Initially, we had written only this my record. So let me close this. Okay, I think let's create a new project here. EGL HUI called web service. If you see here, this wizard is saying that you would like to, do you like to import these two libraries? Yeah, I am saying yes, I want to import both these libraries to be provided in my project. And finish. Yet again a package here. For example, give it any name, and then create a handler here. Call. Okay. Now what I will do, I have to copy a visible file that I have got from my third party. We are first creating a package. Give it any name. I'm giving it just to just for convenience to easily understand that this package holds my visual file. I have given it as a visual name. So I will copy a visual file here. I have a visual here already, so I will copy this. This is a visual file. Actually, this is a web service that is running on IBM X server. And if you double click on the visual file, then it will show you this location. So this visual is running on HTTP server os.demos.ibm.com on this port, and this is the path. And it has this function, is this interface with this operation function, and it's taking one input parameter and one output parameter. And if you click on this arrow mark, then the detail of input parameter will be shown. Okay, so this is a visual file, and here it's exposing one function, one public function. It's taking one parameter and it's returning one result value. So what I have to do, just select your visual file, right click, and if you see here EGL services option, on the menu, and then select create EGL client interface. Click on this, click OK, and it will say a wizard will appear, and it's saying, okay, this web service contains this interface name. Click next, and then it's saying it's going to show the details of the objects or the function names that are present inside of the visual file, and then it will go and create your packages and files, a skeleton of the code, a piece of code that you have to use in order to call the web service. Next, it is this parameter, and now it's saying the port name is this, interface name is this, and the binding name is this one. Click finish. If you see, it has created one package, 2, 3. 3 packages has been created for us by the wizard. 1, 2, 3. And here we have this one, this package. In this package we have this file, and it contains this interface name. And this interface is the one that we need to use this one. And inside this is the function that we have to call. The function name is this one, and it's taking this parameter is in within reservoir, denoting as an in parameter inside. It is going inside of the function, and then it returns what it returns. It returns this variable. Okay. Now once we have in the wizard, if you see, it has generated these. If you see again, if I click here, it generated few data items, a record, data items, and records that will be used in your web service call. Just click all these, close, go back here. Now what I'll have to do first, I have to button here. Maybe I have to first I will create input parameters here. For example, third one. I think there are 3 input parameters that we have to supply. Then it will return a one result value. So moving here, let me see what are the input parameters. Here, just open this interface file, and this is our input parameter type. This is variable name, and this is the type of the variable. So I have to see its type. Just select this variable, right click, and then you can see open on selection. So the detail of this variable or this object will be shown in your workspace. So this is the definition of this variable. So basically this variable is a record type, and inside of this record there are other variables declared. This is one variable name and its type is this one, which is its type. Again, you can select this type, right click and click open on selection. Let's say okay, its type is this data item, its type is decimal, and then here's the number of years, here is the number of years, this is this one, this is small int, and the third one is amount. Amount is your where is the amount? Number of months, sorry, this number of months, and then you have quoted interest rate. Interest rate is this one decimal, and then you have a year, month, and year, month. So these are the values that are defined inside of this record, and this record has been provided as an input parameter to this function of web service. So what we have to do, we have to supply this input parameter. This record is an input into this function. So what I have to do, I have to go back in my code, and first I will create a function here. Okay, call web service. Okay, and then okay, and sorry, not curly braces. EGL doesn't accept curly braces for functions. So what I have to do, I have to first create object for this variable that is referencing this interface here, like web service, variable name, and then type. Okay. Sorry, then you have to write a binding parameter here with curly braces and control space bar. Then it will show you this and. I will say this bind service. So you will use this reserved word. Now its type is not declared, so Control Shift O to import the definition of this function. Okay, now it's clear now. So we created a variable that is referencing to this interface, and then curly braces, and then 8 symbol sign, and then you will write this bind service property, and then curly braces. So in this way, it's binding this web service interface with this variable. And then once you have defined this one, what you will do? You will write a call reserved word, and then dot. Now, if you see, you can see the function name has been shown here. Just click on this one, and it's showing that it's taking one parameter, and its parameter has been by default given this name. Just leave this one. Then we have another line. If, for example, once we are successful in calling the service, then how to show the result. So we will write returning to show web service results, a function name, or on exception. For example, if there is exception, then show web service call errors. in curly braces. Now what we are saying here, we are saying that okay, when you call the service and if it is successful, then returning to this function, and if there is a failure, any exception occurred during the call, then go to this one. Now we have not declared these two functions, so there's a shortcut to declare these two functions. Just select these lines or maybe right click here, and if you see create callback function, just click on this one. Okay, then it will it has created these two functions. This is a show WS result function, because this will show you the result of this web service, and this web service is returning this this value as a result. And in case of exception, then this function will be called and exception will be displayed here. Now, is of course we have not defined this input parameter, so what we have to do again, either you can write here for example input, and this one as this is a record, so what we have to do, go to your curly braces here, control space, then it will show you the values that are defined inside this one, or there is another way. I think that one may be a bit easier for you. Input dot now here we have this. Let me go back and just make sure. Okay, this is the input parameter here. I have to make sure the reference to this variable is correct. Now put curly braces here, control space, and what are the input parameters that is defined inside here? These are the input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can either copy this one, comma, and then we will assign values one by one. Just copy these parameters here. Comma, and then you will write this one here. Okay, now 1 minute, hold on please. Thank you for wait. Okay, now we have to assign values to here. For example, the principal amount will be, for example, either we can hard code this or we can use any field here. I'm going to use any field here. So what I have to do, I have to make the first field is my input, maybe text field. Just to change the field name dot text. Okay, and in the years I will make the second field as the years. Label the second field. text field here. Either you can, from the properties view, you can either change these fields name, or maybe you can change from here. It's up to you. Equal.txt. So whatever the value we input in these text fields, they will be supplied to this one. And then we have a month field. I will make the third one is the my text field is month. Okay. Give it any name. Text, and then interest rate maybe. Okay, let's make this hard code. This one just maybe make this 0. Okay, now if we are seeing these are not accepting this one, so we have to make as int to convert in their corresponding type. Still not acceptable. Over here we have to see what is the principal amount. Principal amount date is decimal, so I have to make it as that. I think it will be big int into conversion. The error messages at the top, sometimes because of the wrong references, they do not take effect. So first one first, and yes is second one. I have similar example given here. Let me just make sure in the code. The same one that I had used earlier. So in the month field I was giving 0, and the years I was applying some value, and in the principal amount is integer, and again same thing, and this one. So let me alternate this one. Okay, the last maybe was the wrong one. Amount. Let's remove this one. It's the same one. This I'm saying okay. Amount, okay, and my I can make it hard coded maybe. The control shift O. Okay. This is the file. Why it's not taking fit here? I have to just make sure what I'm missing here. The definition of this parameter, I have to just this is with type, maybe the reference type has the similar name, only a small change, so maybe the reference has been wrongly imported. So what I have to do, and yes, my reference was wrongly imported. This was a wrong import of this, the definition of this record. That's why it was giving error message. Okay, now it's clear now. Now, of course, this one now we have to supply as this is the input. Again, this definition is not here, so what I will do, I go back here again, and you can either copy this whole definition of this variable, and then you can write import we have this 2 times. No, there's not a 2 times. I just type it here. Now it's clear here. Because at this level it was referring to the same object of this one, and it was a wrong point to this object. So I made it clear with this object that okay, this is a different object and this is not the same one. So once this is clear and everything, just to recap, first we created using the wizard. First we imported a wizard file, right click, and then we generated the client interface. But in client interface generated couple of files. These are our skeleton for the web service method, and it showed the interface name, function name, and the input parameter type and its name, and the return parameter. Okay, and then inside of our code, I declare an object or variable that is pointing to the reference in this interface object of a web service. And then I used a bind property to bind this this call with this interface from my code. And again, I created this df8co com area, this record that is defined as an input to this interface. And the definition of this record is given here. Okay, so I use the same record, because this is this record is needed to be provided as input to this function. So I declare this record and I get few values here, and then using the call reservoir, I'm calling this function on this object, and then giving the input of this record. And then when there is a returning to a successful call, then it will go to this function, and this function will be called. And if there is a failure, then it will go into this exception function, then this exception function will be called. Now definitely we have to show the result. So what I have to do, so this is my result one. So text equal. So this is result variable dot express, and if you see, this is return month payment. You want like to sys lib dot this function. I want to print any exception if there is an exception coming during the call, comma message. Save the file. So now let's run the code. Just to make these fields readable, more readable, So first one is my amount. Second one is year. Okay, the third one is month, and result, and the file is preview. Okay, now you type amount, for example. Okay, and year. Okay, we have not declared the event, so first we have to declare the event. On click event, select the button. On click. On click. Here is my button. Oh, if you see it is wrongly bind this event with a grid, not the button. So I manually copy this here. With the button, this button, I can change call web service. I'm just changing the label of this function of this button, and now I want to call this function. Either you can copy this one here inside this UR event, semicolon, okay, and save the file. Now go here. Now once you click on the call web service, then a dialog box will appear, and it will ask you, okay, do you want to call the deployed version of the web service or the version it is running in your local environment? Now we want to call the deployed version. Click OK. Now it will go on the IBM server, and then it will return back the result. If you see, this is the result. So this is a way through which we call a web service. Okay, let's go back and we continue back with our database part, and then we will go ahead. If you have any question regarding the web service, please go ahead. Any question or any confusion or any point that you missed, you didn't understand? Okay. So what we are going to do next is to create a database access application in which we want to do this sort of application that we want to create. We will call a web database, and then we will show the result inside of a rich grid. Again, first we will make a connection with the database as we did yesterday, either from the build descriptor or maybe from using the database perspective. To achieve this, first we will create a different type of project, that is a web project. Inside a web project, we will during the wizard creating the web project, we will select the server type, the runtime environment, maybe Apache server or IBM WAS server, and then we will make a connection with the database, and then we will import the corresponding schema or tables that we are interested in to be used inside of our application, and then we will continue with the wizard, and then other database and tables will be imported inside of our application. Okay. Now, once you completed your wizard, show you the list of these libraries or these functions that are by default generated for you, and I will show you what type of the functions this wizard is going to create for us, and what are the data items, are helper functions. For example, there are helper functions that help us to issue the select statement, to call the update statements or delete commands. So we only have to call the function and provide the parameter, providing the corresponding value, and then it will do all things, rest of the things. Like it will automatically execute the SQL statement, like a select statement, update statement, delete statement, or any other statement. So this will be, if you see these slides are just trying to highlight that once you completed your running the wizard, then it will generate a bunch of files, and those files will contain so and so records, so and so definition of which database, and it's just highlighting those areas or those files. So I'm just skipping here, and I'm just going to just pass on these libraries, and then we will move towards creating this one. So once we done this, and then next part is to create a rich UI handler, and inside the rich UI handler we will call this service, database function, and in this way we will show the results. So I think just hold on at this point. First we complete importing the database and inside of our web application, and once we do all these steps, then we will go for creating rich UI. So first I have to create a web project here. All DB example. Next. Now I have to select in server here. I think I don't have Apache here. I can either I have this new option here. I select the new one, and then wizard will appear. If you see at the top, I have Apache. I think I have MN Apache on my machine. And just browse here. Files. Okay. Now I selected Apache here. Finish. Saying that do you want to change the perspective, because currently we have a EGL perspective, and then it will change into the Java web perspective, because we are creating a web project. By changing the perspective, it will load the corresponding views that will help us, and that will be the helper views in that particular project. For example, in the rich UI project, we have like a palette there, and we have properties view, and we have outline view or EGL data view. So these views are helper in the EGL perspective. Same way in the web perspective, there will be some other views that will help in that particular area. It has changed into web. Now what I have to do, okay, let's first see what is the by default generated code here. This is the by default structure of the code. It has generated by default this package. Just leave this package. Don't worry about the package. What these files are, these are the helper files that will help you. And again, we have built this build descriptor and deployment descriptor. So what we have to do, we have to select the project, or one way is to either you click on the build descriptor and click on the new. Then again the database connection wizard will appear. Second way is to select EGL source, right click, new, and then other. And then if you see here we have a data access application. Click next. Then select your project name, which is our project name is called the example. Okay, this one is our project name. Now, do you have any existing database connection? If you have to select this. Otherwise, click the new and then do the rest of the thing. Currently, we have one MyDB connection. So once I selected this one, then the list of tables data are present in this database. They will be visible here. So I will. Now it's up to me, like either I import all these tables or particular ones. For example, customer, item, order, item. I'm not selecting these two ones. So just select next. Now by default it's saying, okay, your customer table contains this customer ID as a primary key, item table has an item ID primary key, order has this one, and either item has this one. If you want to change any ID, you can change it, or you can make a composite primary key by selecting two fields. So those two fields will be behaved as a composite key. Once you press next, then it will say, okay, before it goes and generate a bunch of libraries for you, you want to qualify table names with the schema. For example, we if there is a need to import multiple databases in your project, to distinguish between the tables, which table belongs to which database, you have to qualify table names with schema. So that you can identify the tables with a schema name. Just click next. Here we have details these things. It is these fields and so on. So column, just leave default finish. If you see here on the left side, it will generate a couple of projects here. There are a couple of files generated. I'm just closing this one. They are not needed. 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 are generated by default for us. Before you close this build descriptor, from this load option, select your MyDB, and if you see, MyDB properties will be populated. Okay, just click save, close. Now let's quickly see one by one these files. The first one is conditional handling libs. These are the conditional lib files. If you see, it has few records, and it has a library, and it has few constant variables and some variables and some helper functions. They have pretty good comments here. These comments help you understand the purpose of each function or the variable. We have control structure. If you see again some other records, just close this one. Now we have imported 4 tables. So for each table, it is generated customer lib. In the customer lib, if you see, customer lib is a library, and it has this function, add customer. Now using this add customer, what it will do, it will take a customer record is an input parameter, then it will automatically add this new customer record into your customer table. Same way it is add one customer or add customer list or bunch of customer records into your table, or get a customer to search customer in your table with this get reserved. I will tell you these get reserved are okay. Let's continue. Like maybe more takes these variables. Okay. We have this get reserved and age reserved, as we seen on the slide. That if you these are the helper reserved that generate the SQL queries on behalf of you. For example, if you place your cursor here and you want to see which is the query that is being generated against this get reserved, right click here, SQL statement, and say get. It will generate this SQL statement. So this SQL statement is being used by default against this get reserved. If you see this, by selecting all columns from the customer table, only from the customer table, and the where class is putting customer ID is equal to this host variable. And if you see which is the host variable, this is a customer record is a record. And of course the record has multiple inside of the record we have multiple values, and in our search record it has a customer ID as a value. So we are not using the complete record, but we are using only one value inside of this record, and this search record is basically we are applying as an input parameter to this function. So this is an example of using host variable. Same way, if you place your cursor here at the add, then right click. You see this is your insert statement. Again, now if you see it's again using the host variable with this colon mark. And if you like to modify, you can modify. It's up to you. You can modify this, like if you want to remove few columns, or for example, if you want to remove these, you want to only get for example, customer ID and first name. From this function, just remove this one and just save. So it will work for you, and it will always return customer ID and first name, and it will not return others. And if you want to put more checks here, you can put your more checks here. And for example, first name is equal to ABC. So in this way, you can modify or you can customize this by default SQL. So always this new or the modified SQL will be used in this particular function only. So these are the custom functions that are by default generated for you. And same way is this is generated for only customer table. Same way it is generated for item tables. Add item, add list of items, get item, orders table, and so on. So this was the second package. The third one is our definition. If you click on the data item, if you see here we have SQL record, and its type is like a customer record has been declared, and its type is SQL record, and its relationship has been maintained with this table, customer table. And it's saying using this key items that by default it will use customer ID as the key. In all where clauses, by default this customer ID will be used. If you want to use multiple, then if you can put comma, and then you can say okay first name or anything, so both columns will be used in the where class automatically for you. So in this way you will control your whole behavior of your default generated queries that are default generated against each reserved word, like add reserved word, get reserved word, and delete reserved word, and so on. So, and then once these few properties are defined, in the number of columns that you are interested in to be used inside of this record, those are defined here. In each column, this is a variable name and its definition is given here. Now, if you want to see again the definition, which type of variable is this, just select this, right click and open selection. And it will be your data item, and it's defined in the dictionary data definitions, the another file that is here, the fourth package. This contains your different data items that are used throughout your application. Yes, int, and string and nothing. Okay. So same way, the variable is SQL nullable or maximum size, maximum character, all these are defined here. Same way, another record is defined here, like a search record. For example, you want to search, then you can use this record, and it will help you to quickly search within your table. So these are the by default generated classes, libraries, constants, functions, records that help us to facilitate our development. Mostly these by default generated, sorry, not this one, the by default generated, these library functions are really helpful. And if you like, we can either modify the by default generated queries, and we can add our custom queries here, or we can declare our custom functions here, or we can modify these by default custom functions. So again, just to repeat this one again, for example, you want to add only one single record in your customer table, then you will use add customer, a single add customer function. And if you want to add multiple records, multiple lines in your table, then you will use add customer list. And if you want to get customer values from the customer table, then you will use get customer, and you will provide the customer input criteria. If you want to get all records from the customer table, then you will use get customer list all. So it will return back all records, all data from the customer table. If you see again, there is like these prepare reserve word are used just for creating prepared statement, and then again it's using some other, like it's using SQL cursors to dynamically manipulate with this one, and then and so on. For these, for more details, you can easily either go on the help content, or maybe on the help center, on the info center. I think this is good. Again, if you want to update a single record, then you can use this update customer function, or if you want to update multiple records, then you can use this update customer list. Again, this one, if you see, it's using this replace this one, and so on. If you see, want to see this replace, right click here. So this is by default generated query for the replace, for the update. Okay, I think this is good so far. And again, if you want to delete, there are delete functions. Delete one record or delete all records, and so on. So I think this is good for this class, and we will continue from here. And then we will we have made a connection with the DB. Now what we'll do, we will create a rich UI handler, and then we will call our table record, and we will show in the rich UI handler. Okay, any questions so far before we close this this session regarding the tables or databases or anything else? Okay. Okay, we will meet after 50 minutes, and we will continue onwards till the end of the training sessions. And today is our last day. So, okay, let's see if you have any questions regarding any topic or anything, just let me know, or even after the classes you can send me emails regarding your issues. I will try my best to help you out on these LEDs or on these topics. Okay, thank you very much for your time. We are closing the session right now, and then we will meet after 15 minutes. Okay, thank you. Take care. Bye.